We'll move on to part one. Apologies for absence. I assume there are none.
That's correct, Chair. No apologies.
The second item, minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of September 2025. I had a look at these again last night. At the start, it says who were present, and it also says also present Councillor E. Williams as Cabinet Member of Social Care and Health, and Councillor Williams, I think you might be with us again today, which is very good. I think it ought to be clarified there that he's present in observing, because I just want to make sure that the quoracy issue, which we'll come on to later, is properly dealt with. So he is able to be here, or present rather, observing, but he's not a member of the committee. So perhaps that can just be clarified, if that's all right. Amy?
Yes, Chair, noted.
Okay. On the other one, I think may have been my reading. If we go on to down to 330, applications for dispensation. Councillor B. Laverick Edwards, the second one, it says to speak, vote and remain in Vale of Glamorgan Council meetings when general matters relating to the Vale of Glamorgan Coastlands Food Bank are raised, and to speak only when matters regarding financial remuneration for Mr. Laverick Edwards are to be considered. I think I know what that means, but I had to read it twice or three times. Does it need clarification? Perhaps a new full stop, because she is only allowed to speak when matters relating to her husband. Perhaps nobody else understands it, rather.
I haven't had any queries, and I can confirm that the elected member themselves is fully aware of their the dispensation.
Okay. It's just when I read it through, I had to read it 2 or 3 times. So, right. Apart from that, has anybody got any other issues to raise? Right. I'll take silence as being your agreement, so I'll sign those in due course. Item 3, to receive declarations of interest and the nature of such interests. Are there any, please? No. So we'll move on to item 4, reports of the monitoring officer. The first one is the observation of the independent members of the Vale of Glamorgan Council and Town and Community Council. As you are all aware, we independent members go out to sit in on these meetings, and it's a learning experience for us, and hopefully we can pass on some ideas to the various councils. I mean, I think it's quite interesting in that we're the only ones who actually probably sit in with most, if not all, of the council. So that's quite an interesting and privileged position. I think we've got quite a few to go through today. So, Councillor Alexander, not Councillor Alexander, Mr. Ronnie Alexander, can you deal with the 2 that you've attended first, please?
Well, of course, Richard, I'm very happy to do so. The first one relates to St Nicholas with Bungleston Community Council, which I attended on the 8th of the 8th. This I would describe as an interesting meeting. It was certainly a fractious meeting throughout the course of the evening. So the chair, in my submission, did extremely well to keep the agenda on track. and to complete it shortly after 9 o'clock. I suppose my central concern here is that whilst the chair kept business flowing, there is some obvious disharmony within the meeting from one source, I think, and there is an obvious history of which I'm not aware, and therefore I don't intend to comment on that further, other than to make the comment that that did threaten to disrupt process at several points during the evening. But in the event, because of the controlling interest of the chair, it did not. My view would be that it would be helpful for another observation process to take place shortly to see if the general interaction has improved. This meeting that I attended was completely remote, and I don't think that helped process, because interaction is always easier, particularly when there is difficulty when it is face to face. But I think a further visit and a further observation may present an opportunity for more focused observation. So I'll pause there in case there are any questions or observations. If not, I will move on to the second one, Richard.
Well, does anybody want to comment or ask any questions on that? If not, perhaps you can move on to your second, which I think was Wenvo Community Council.
Thank you. The second was Wenvo Community Council, which I was pleased to attend on the 16th of the 10th. This was an in-person meeting, but a hybrid test was taking place, making use of a laptop that had been supplied by the Vale of Glamorgan. So that was an interesting process to observe. I would describe this as a really excellent meeting. Although no members of the public were present, the chair was focused and proceeded through the agenda in a very businesslike way. It was a purposeful meeting of 12 agenda items, chaired with determination, but in a polite manner. The community councillors in my submission are a group of committed individuals acting cohesively to do their best for the local community, and it was a pleasure to attend. Again, I have no other observation than to say it was a pleasure to attend, and all due process was entirely as it should be. And again, I will pause. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. There are no hands up. So, Greg, can you deal with Dinas Powys Community Council, please?
Yes, Chair. Good morning. Thank you. I attended at Dinas Powys Community Council on the 16th of October 25. That was an in-person meeting. I was warmly greeted upon my arrival. A number of members of the public had attended to speak on an agenda item, and as a result, the chair then put the topic for discussion to the top of the list, so that all members of the public who had attended could speak. And that happened, and it happened very well. It was well organized by the chair. My final thought on the meeting, that it was well run, a warm welcome from the chair to all attendees. My only observation is the acoustics in the room are not ideal, but that may be something to do with my hearing rather than the building itself. But all in all, a very well run meeting.
Thank you. Perhaps you'd now move on to the 28th of October when you attended at Cowbridge, I think.
Yes, Chair. I attended at Cowbridge and Llanbeddian Council meeting. I attended there remotely. This was a hybrid meeting. There were two people other than myself attending remotely. Again, a very warm welcome from the Chief Officer, Natasha Alexander. The audio throughout the meeting, however, was intermittent and difficult to wholly follow the proceedings. Notwithstanding the difficulties with the audio, it was a very harmonious atmosphere with all present determined to ensure that the meeting went smoothly. There was no dissent. My final observation would be that I am not persuaded hybrid or remote meetings offers the best option, and it may be just for that particular venue. But on the day I spoke with the chief officer with my observations as to the audio problems, and she explained to me that they were working to fix this problem. But again, a very well-run meeting and nothing detrimental for anyone there.
Thank you very much. Councillor Franks, I will come on to you. I see your hands up. I think your comments there, Greg, reflect exactly what I said at the last time I went to a meeting when I didn't attend in person. It is so difficult to follow it sometimes when the acoustics or the sound is bad. We will come on to a report from the monitoring officer when she met the clerks, and this item was raised there. And I would suggest that for these observation meetings, we do everything possible to attend in person. It might not be 100% possible, but I think we ought to attend in person. I don't know what others think on that. Gerwin, do you have a view?
Yes, I agree entirely. The meeting I shall discuss in a minute was an in-person meeting. It's much easier to follow, and people seem to be able to participate far more easily.
Thank you. Right, we'll go back to Councillor Franks. I see your name is up, and Councillor Summers afterwards. So, Councillor Franks.
Thank you. I think I should declare I'm a member of Dinas Powys Community Council. I don't think there's an interest involved, but I think for the benefit of transparency, and I would just add, it was a delight to meet Greg in person. He didn't clear off at the first opportunity. He stayed after the meeting and engaged with a number of councillors, which I thought was very good practice. And it really reinforces, Richard, your comment about an in-person attendance. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Councillor Summers.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just really like to pick up on Greg's comments on the Cowbridge meeting and the problems with the remote access. I think this is something we've all commented on and discussed before, and I think it's worth noting that Cowbridge is probably one of the better equipped and larger TCCs in our area. And if we're still having problems there, I think it's pretty indicative that we've got an issue across the board. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now move on to Gerwin's attendance. Remind me where it was. Gerwin.
Yes, it was the Penllyn Community Council on the 3rd of November. It meets at Llansanor. It was my second visit there. I'd been there some years ago, and my impression this time was the same as last time. Very small, well-conducted council meeting, large hall, very spacious, local councillors dealing responsibly with matters of local interest. So I was very impressed, as I was the last time I went there. There was just one item that intrigued me, which was the last item on the agenda, which was, it said confidential matters to be considered in closed session. I wasn't clear what was happening. There was no formal decision made to sit in a closed session. I certainly wasn't asked to leave, which I would have been if it was a closed session. In any event, I couldn't follow the discussion that happened afterwards. It was clearly a matter of local interest, which I couldn't follow. But that's the only comment I'd make, Chairman.
Thank you. Well, perhaps we can refer back to them to clarify exactly what was going on there and whether they ought to change it.
Well, Councillor Summers was there, so he might be able to help.
I was going, as chair, I think I was just going to, that is actually my council, so perhaps I could comment on that. There were no matters of confidential matters raised or to discuss. So that's why the council didn't go into closed session. The item is on the agenda there in case there are such items, but on the occasion of that meeting there weren't any. So that's perhaps why the question of a motion to go into it wasn't raised. I don't know whether that clarifies that for you or not, Gowan. Hopefully yes. It does.
but there was a discussion.
Yes, I think that was. Yeah, I don't. I'd have to check back on the minutes and notes, my own minutes and notes from that. But I don't think that. I think that was a continuation, perhaps, of the previous item. It certainly wasn't part of a confidential discussion because I know there were no confidential matters to discuss. And that's why, as I say, that's why we didn't go into closed session or ask you to leave.
Right. Thank you very much. Is it? I think there are two things that follow from there. Firstly, is it agreed that we should follow Ronnie's recommendation and that there should be another visit to St Nicholas and Bonvilston Community Council? Perhaps you put your hands up if you agree. I think everybody, most if not all, agree with that, so that's good. And do you also agree that wherever possible, we should attend in person rather than remotely? Again, I think everybody's in favour of that. So I'm sure the monitoring officer will make a note of those points. So thank you very much for that. I think it's a very interesting exercise, that. And as I say, I think we learn, and hopefully they learn also. Moving on to item 5, the monitoring officer meetings with the clerks of town and community councils. Vicky?
Chair, I'm very sorry to interrupt. I can see Councillor Charles has her hand raised.
Thank you for that. I had missed that. Councillor Charles, do you want to say something?
No, sorry, I forgot to pull it down after the last vote.
Okay, easily done. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Can you hear me? Yep. So this report is a housekeeping report, a standard report that comes to committee twice a year, although there was a slight delay on arranging the second meeting with the clerks of the town and community councils, but that meeting took place last week. It was a really, really useful meeting, really well attended, and I think lots of the clerks benefited from the discussion at the meeting. So just briefly, in summary, the items that were discussed at the meeting were the local resolution procedure, dispute resolution procedure, and there was a discussion about how clerks at the town and community councils in the Vale of Glamorgan area deal with issues that arise of a low level complaints. And there was encouragement really to try and address those low-level conduct issues locally in line with the model local resolution procedure that was adopted by One Voice Wales. And there was a discussion around the types of low-level conduct issues around disrespect and those low-level vexatious behaviours. There wasn't a huge discussion on the recent case themes that have emerged from the Ombudsman and the Adjudication Panel for Wales, but I provided the clerks with links to the relevant reports and focused the discussion on the themes that were emerging, and mostly they relate to issues of tone in communications between members and conduct in respect of social media behaviour. We had a brief discussion about dispensations, and there was a run through of the process and the criteria for members when applying for dispensations, which come to this committee. We had a brief discussion about training and the opportunities for training that are available to clerks and their members. We had a discussion about governance issues and recent reports from the Auditor General for Wales. And we spoke about the Welsh Government policy work that's ongoing currently, and the sessions that Welsh Government are holding workshops in relation to the report that was published by Welsh Government last year in relation to governance at TCC level. So the clerks were really supportive, and obviously those sessions will continue. It was attended by Paul Egan from One Voice Wales, who was very helpful, and colleagues from Democratic Services Committee. So yeah, a really useful session. We'll have another session probably in June of next year.
Thank you very much. I also sat in it and gave a brief report. Are there any questions? Yes, Gerwin?
Hello all. For everybody watching the stream, Councillor Watkins, Mr. Watkins was asking what the percentage of town and community councils were that were present. I believe we had a total of 16 councils represented out of 26. So you'll have to bear with me. I'm not quite sure what that percentage would be, but that was the number of councils present.
Councillor Summers, do you want to comment?
Yes, I was just going to ask whether, I believe I saw from the notes of the meeting that the a transcript was going to be sent out to the other clerks who were unable to attend, or to all the clerks who were or were not attending. I'm just wondering whether that's actually happened or not yet.
Yes, it has. So in addition to that, I also sent the slide deck that I referred to during the meeting, and some additional links to some reports to support, some of the work that the clerks do. I've since met with the clerk from Barry Town Council, because she wasn't able to attend, and I also met with the clerk from Penarth Town Council as well, because she was off work at the time of the meeting. So yeah, they've all had the information. Thanks.
Lovely, thank you very much.
Good, thank you very much for that. Moving on to item 6. Adjudication Panel for Wales annual report.
Yep, thank you, Chair. So this is the Adjudication Panel for Wales annual report, and it's provided to the Standards Committee with an update in respect of the work of the APW. The report covers the period from April 2024 to March of this year, and I draw members' attention specifically to the case summaries at section 3 of the document. There's obviously various sections to the report, which focuses on the APW's business priorities and expenditure and their performance in terms of case activity and how they've met their targets. There are several case summaries which I've set out in the key issues section of the report, and some observations around social media misuse by councillors. They're seeing this as a recurring theme in some of the cases that they're dealing with. There was also reference to public misunderstanding of the tribunal process, which was noted, and that they're intending going forward and have steps in place to plan to improve the clarity around those issues. They'd received no complaints. So yeah, the report's before the committee. It comes here annually around this time. I think we're slightly late this year reporting it, but it's there for the committees for the committee to note.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or comments on that report? No, thank you. Now we have the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales annual report.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. Similarly, this is the annual report for the period 2024-25. The report comes here annually. I've drawn out for members of the committee the key issues for the committee to consider. There's obviously, again, various, like the APW report, various sections dealing with specific issues, including the PSOW's accounts for the year 24-25. There is an easy read report link in the report if members would like to read that, and there's also a YouTube video as well to highlight some of the areas that the Ombudsman deals with. So yeah, there's the number of complaints received by the Ombudsman has decreased by 4% on the previous year. But there's been an overall increase of 36% of complaints since 2019-2020. 60% of the complaints are received from town and community councils, and 40% from principal councils, county councils. The Ombudsman reflects in her report that the most common breach is failure to promote equality and respect, which comprise 56% of the complaints. There are some statistics then in relation to the number of investigations that have been completed, 49 in total, 15 cases that referred on to the Standards Committee or to a Standards Committee or Adjudication Panel for Wales, and 85% of those referred resulted in breaches which were upheld. The report also references the number of whistleblowing complaints that the Ombudsman has dealt with, and again makes reference to the independent review undertaken by Melissa McCullough, which we've discussed at this committee previously when a report was brought here some months ago now. There's a section on staff support and training, and then the full report. I haven't produced that in its entirety in this report, but I have included within the report links to the sources if members would like to read those.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments, please? Yes, Ronnie.
Mr. Alexander, if you wouldn't mind pressing your activation button, please. We're unable to hear you at the moment. I think you may be on mute.
Thank you. I have also corrected that. I hope that all is now clear. I'd just like to make two observations, please. The first one of which is, I think the easy read version of this report is absolutely excellent. It seems to me to be an exemplar of what an easy read report should be. Then secondly, in relation to the report itself from Michelle Morris, I think that the increasing use of informatics makes the report very much more readable than it has been in previous years. And it's obvious that some concentration is going into the use of informatics and making the report more readable. And I think that is also to be recommended. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to comment or question? Ask a question? No? So we'll move on to item 8, correspondence with the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales.
Thank you, Chair. This report is to provide the committee under part 2 of the agenda with a verbal overview of correspondence which has been exchanged with myself and the Public Service Ombudsman for Wales and any matters arising in relation to those discussions. So I think we'll move into
yes,
part
thank
2
you.
of that.
Thank you for that. Item 9 is any items which the chair has decided are urgent. Well, hopefully you have received a report in the last few days. We were hoping to get that out more than a week ago, but it wasn't possible. And this is all to do effectively with quoracy. I have to say, there's been some problems when we looked at this in some detail. I think it can be fairly said that they were honest mistakes. Really, the issue concerns our Councillor Summers. It's not his fault, obviously, but he represents the Town and Community Council. And I think it had always been assumed that he was independent. I have to say he is independent and he adds a lot to this. But on a close reading of the rules, and it's not straightforward even in the rules, it turns out that he is deemed to not be independent, so that he is also a councillor. So the rules are that to be quorate, at least half have to be independent. I think that's an interesting description, because if you have 6 and 3 are independent, that's half. Does that mean that it's at least half? I think it is, but it's not set out in a very straightforward manner. But hopefully you've had a chance to read the report. Vicky, is there anything you want to add before I ask for any comments?
Not a great deal, but just to make a couple of points for clarity. The first point is to note that the clarification that we received regarding the quoracy requirements subsequently led to a governance review which was undertaken during October, and it followed the completion of the Standards Committee annual report earlier this year. That's one point to make. The second issue relates to the decisions which were made in good faith by the committee and the meetings that are affected as a result of this issue. And the item the items that are before the committee today relate to 2 dispensation applications that were made, which I'd be inviting the committee today to consider and retake those decisions. Both members who made those applications have been consulted, and they're aware of the matter that's before the committee today. The third item of business that was affected, so the first two are the dispensation applications which are before the committee today. The third item is a matter that we can't deal with today. So a comprehensive report will come back to the committee in January. I've been in contact with the parties relating to that matter, and those communication is ongoing. So a further report will be brought back to the committee in January.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any comments or questions, please? Councillor Summers? You're on mute, I think.
There we go. Oh, okay. Yes, as you kindly pointed out in your introduction, Chair, thank you for that. This does sort of revolve around the TCC rep. So I think it's perhaps relevant that I sort of do make a comment on that. I mean, the regulations are quite clear, stating that a community councillor can't be an independent member. They also go on to say, of course, that the community council representative can't be an elected member of the principal council. So at the end of the day, we obviously need to be guided by the monitoring officer and her advisors as to how that affects choracy, which is what we're doing today. But it does leave the TCC representative in a sort of slightly ambiguous and possibly disingenuous position, that it sort of suggests that they are not independent. And as you kindly pointed out, Chair, I think we are, and I certainly am. It's as the current representative, I suppose I'm probably doubly independent in that I am not in any way representing the views of the principal council. I'm here to represent personally and as a representative of the various community councils within our area. And in fact, as I say, I'm probably doubly independent because I'm on the record in my own council as being elected as an independent councillor, and therefore I have no affiliation to any political party either. So I think just for the record, it's important that it is noted that regardless of how it's dealt with from a choracy point of view, the TCC representative should be and is independent. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Councillor Summers. You certainly, as far as I'm concerned, are very independent, and thank you very much for all your contributions. Councillor Franks?
Thank you. I think we should simply confirm the past decisions. As the monitoring officer said, the meetings were held in good faith. It's unfortunate, and we want to remove any uncertainty from the people who've been granted dispensation urgently. So that's what I would like to see happen. As an aside, I have never liked to have different categories of colleagues on this committee. I know we've got no option, but I think it is unnecessary and not helpful, as has been proved to be the case. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And in the absence of anybody else wanting to say anything, that will be the next I will be asking if you are happy to ratify the previous decisions. If I think the easiest way to do it, if anybody objects to that, can they raise their hands? Otherwise, we'll assume it's accepted. Right, thank you. So thank you. Those decisions will be ratified. If everybody agrees, we'll now move into part 2. Amy, can you help us, please?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, if you just bear with me one moment and I'll confirm that the live stream has now stopped.